All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we are uncovering the hidden history of one of America's most secretive military facilities, tucked way out there deep in the remote Nevada desert. I mean, when you hear the words Area 51, your mind probably jumps straight to science fiction, right? But today, we're looking past the Hollywood blockbusters and internet folklore. We're going to examine the actual documented history, the engineering marvels, and the incredible human achievements that actually took place on this isolated patch of Earth.
For decades, this heavily guarded base has fueled endless rumors. But the real question we need to ask ourselves is, what is actually true? Our main focus today is separating documented historical facts from the sensationalized fiction. Because, when you strip away all those flying saucer stories, you're left with a tale of incredible Cold War urgency. We're talking about pushing the absolute limits of human aviation and a level of government secrecy that is, quite frankly, almost impossible to comprehend. To understand it all, we've got to go back to the very beginning.
Which brings us to Section 1, Groom Lake Origins.
So to understand exactly why this facility was built in the first place, we have to look at the rising global tensions of the 1950s. Right at the height of the Cold War, the stakes were, they were incredibly high. This led the CIA to spearhead the creation of this testing site in 1955. But check out this massive gap in time. It wasn't until 2013, literally nearly 60 years later, that the US government officially acknowledged the base's existence through declassified documents. That 6-decade gap of absolute official silence, that is the exact fertile ground where every myth and legend we know today was born.
So why this specific spot in Nevada? Well, engineers meticulously surveyed the desert, and they picked the Groom Lake dry lakebed for some very practical reasons. First off, the extreme isolation provided a massive, completely flat natural runway. Second, it was literally the ideal environment for remote aircraft testing. I mean, if something went wrong, you had miles of empty desert in every single direction. And third, it provided a safe distance from public observation for top-secret operations. They needed a place where the closest neighbors were just jackrabbits and tumbleweeds, and Groom Lake delivered exactly that.
Moving on to Section 2, Cold War Aviation.
Now, the actual verified history of the groundbreaking aviation technology developed inside those massive desert hangars, that is where the true magic of Area 51 actually lies. A perfect example of this human ingenuity is the U-2 spy plane. This was a highly classified reconnaissance aircraft designed for high-altitude intelligence gathering. Military engineers essentially assembled a powered glider in absolute secrecy. And the pilots flying these machines, they had to wear specialized pressure suits, kind of like astronauts, because they were pushing the absolute limits of the Earth's atmosphere on their missions. They were flying so high that they were virtually untouchable by enemy defenses at the time, capturing critical intelligence that quite literally shaped the course of the Cold War.
But the U-2 was really just the beginning. As the decades passed, the base became the birthplace of even more incredible engineering feats. Take the A-12 Oxcart, which was developed right here. It was capable of flying at 3 times the speed of sound. Then came the early days of stealth aircraft technology, where they designed planes that could evade enemy detection entirely. They also built highly classified radar testing facilities right out there in the dust. The sheer volume of technological innovation that poured out of these classified research facilities is absolutely staggering, and it was all done entirely out of the public eye.
Now for Section 3, Birth of UFO Myths.
So how in the world did these brilliant, documented engineering achievements logically transform into wild flying saucer legends? Like, how do you get from a titanium spy plane to little green men? Well, put yourself in this scenario. Imagine you're a civilian in the 1950s, just standing out in the desert haze. The sun is setting. Suddenly, you observe this unusual, incredibly fast-moving silver aircraft catching the last rays of the sun at an altitude no normal plane could ever reach. And because the government obviously couldn't just say, oh, hey, don't worry, that's just our top-secret A-12 Oxcart, civilians understandably mistook these high-altitude test flights for extraterrestrial UFOs. Actually, the military's strict need for secrecy inadvertently created the absolute perfect recipe for alien mythology.
Which leads us to Section 4, the Wall of Secrecy.
You might be wondering, how did the government manage to keep these advanced Cold War innovations completely under wraps for over half a century? Well, it started right on the ground. The physical perimeter of the base was intensely locked down. If you drove out into the desert trying to find Area 51, you'd be met with heavy security checkpoints, intimidating warning signs authorizing the use of deadly force, surveillance cameras tracking your every single move, and heavily guarded dirt roads patrolled by anonymous security personnel. The message was crystal clear: do not cross this line. It was an absolute physical barricade against public curiosity.
And the security wasn't just on the ground either. In the skies above,
Restrictive airspace maps ensured absolutely no civilian aircraft could get anywhere near the classified operations happening at Groom Lake. We're talking about some of the most heavily restricted airspace on the entire planet. If a civilian pilot even accidentally drifted toward this invisible box in the sky, they would be immediately intercepted. The facility was essentially placed inside this impenetrable, three-dimensional bubble of isolation.
Now, this immense physical wall of secrecy resulted in decades of official government silence. If someone asked about Groom Lake, the government simply said nothing, or they just flatly denied its existence. But human nature abhors a vacuum. When you have a highly guarded military base that officially doesn't even exist and people are seeing bizarre aircraft flying over it, that silence unfortunately only further fueled growing public and media attention and wild speculation. In a way, the government's refusal to comment essentially became the ultimate confirmation for conspiracy theorists.
All right, Section 5, Pop Culture versus Reality. Over the decades, Area 51 evolved from a classified military testing site into a massive global cultural phenomenon. The mystery of the base heavily influenced the cultural zeitgeist, inspiring countless sensational newspaper headlines and deeply rooted alien conspiracy theories. I mean, it spawned an entire cottage industry of books and speculative documentaries. Ultimately, it became the ultimate science fiction inspiration, heavily influencing movies and television shows that depicted the base as a storage facility for crashed spaceships and extraterrestrial beings. It's highly entertaining for sure, but it's absolutely crucial to remember that this is the realm of fiction, born entirely from secrecy. But when we look at the actual declassified CIA documents, we can clearly separate the fictional entertainment from the base's very real and vital importance to United States aviation history. Where popular entertainment sees alien conspiracies, the verified facts show advanced aircraft testing. Where movies show science fiction UFOs, the reality is thoroughly documented CIA spy plane programs. And while internet culture perpetuates endless myths, the actual truth is that Area 51 remains a hub for continued, highly classified military research to this very day.
So, what you should really take away from all of this is that Area 51 remains deeply mysterious today, not because of proven extraterrestrials, but because incredible military research and advanced human engineering projects are still heavily classified. The men and women who worked at Groom Lake, they pushed the boundaries of aerodynamics, stealth, and national security. The truth is, the dedication, the massive technological leaps, and the geopolitical chess game played out in that desert are a massive testament to human capability. Honestly, sometimes the real story is just as fascinating, if not more so, than the myths.
As we wrap up this explainer, we know that the work at Groom Lake definitely didn't stop at the end of the Cold War. The security is just as tight today as it was decades ago. It really leaves us to look out at the remote Nevada desert, far away from the city lights, and wonder, what amazing secret aviation advancements, what next generation of human engineering might be glowing in the night sky right now?